On this episode of China Uncensored, if you criticize socialism, does that mean you're not being very sociable? Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke at the UN General Assembly this week, and it seemed to go well.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
A little laughter, some applause, but there are some countries, according to Trump, that just aren't playing by the same rules as everyone else.
For example, countries were admitted to the World Trade Organization that violate every single principle on which the organization is based. Even worse, some countries abuse their openness to dump their products, subsidize their goods, target our industries, and manipulate their currencies to gain unfair advantage over our country. These countries use government-run industrial planning and state-owned enterprises to rig the system in their favor.
Yeah, some countries, not to name names here. And I respect your self-restraint, Mr. President, but it's okay to say your favorite word. China's the United States has just announced tariffs on another $200 billion in Chinese-made goods, for a total so far of $250 billion. Oh my gosh, does the Chinese representative have a black eye? Hang on, I've just received this letter from the Chinese consulate. Apparently, China's UN ambassador fell down a flight of stairs. Huh. But the Chinese Communist Party wants you to know, if any country is being abusive, it's the United States.
Now that the U.S. has taken such sweeping measures of trade restrictions, which is like putting a knife to others' neck, how could we conduct negotiations?
State-run Xinhua accuses the U.S. of trade bullyism. Bullyism. Wow, it's like China's even stealing our insults and reverse engineering them and then trying to sell us badly made knockoffs. That is why we need tariffs, people. It's time to bring back those high-quality, made-in-America insults, like hornswoggler. That's a real word. Look it up. I'm not hornswoggling you. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right, how the U.S. is the bully in this trade scenario. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wait, isn't China the big dirty cheater here? But how could that be? China just released a white paper on the trade war proving that China is right, using facts. That's right, folks. Chinese state-run media wants you to know that this white paper includes real facts, presumably to distinguish it from all the previous white papers, like the one about how China has made remarkable progress in human rights. It's like when Domino's started advertising, now made with real cheese, and they were hoping you would think, oh goody, but you were actually thinking, wait, what did they use before? And should I even be eating this now? But just because a pizza contains real cheese doesn't mean it also contains real meat, so while China's new white paper on trade may contain some real facts, it's a bit lacking in others, like the facts about China relentlessly dumping products on the U.S., forcing technology transfer, and stealing America's intellectual property. But it's not about whether the white paper is true or partly true, or the pepperoni is actually rat meat. The point is, you shouldn't worry, because China is looking out for the world in the face of U.S. aggression. It says the U.S. has become the greatest source of uncertainty and risk for the recovery of the global economy, but China has the support of all countries in the world that reject protectionism, unilateralism, and hegemony. Yeah, that's right. The Chinese Communist Party is standing up for the rest of the world, using its totally fair debt traps. And my favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, said this week that in the US-China trade war, China is honest and principled and a major trade power with intensive strengths. No one can take us down. But President Trump may have other ideas. Not about any country in particular, of course.
Virtually everywhere socialism or communism has been tried, it has produced suffering, corruption, and decay. Socialism's thirst for power leads to expansion, incursion, and oppression. All nations of the world should resist socialism and the misery that it brings to everyone.
That's misery to everyone in general, not necessarily everyone in particular. Oh, come on, there's lots of countries where people are suffering from socialist policies. That's better. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And before you go, now is the time when I answer questions from you, the loyal members of the China Uncensored 50-cent army who support the show on the crowdfunding website Patreon. David Blatt asks, what is the impact of Hong Kong handing over sovereignty of the train station in Kowloon that links it to the PRC? And what is their reasoning for this suspicious occurrence? That's another step in the Chinese Communist Party's plan to change one country, two systems, the policy where Hong Kong gets to keep freedoms unimaginable in the rest of China, into one country, one system, where things are much more harmonious. Losing a piece of Hong Kong territory at the train station and having it be administered under mainland Chinese law is a small but meaningful step toward that. It would have been unthinkable 10 years ago, but bit by bit, Hong Kong's freedoms are vanishing. In this case, in the name of convenience. But so far, the high-speed rail line doesn't seem to be as popular as the government thought. Thanks for your question, David. And do you have a question you want to ask me? Then join the China Uncensored 50-cent army on Patreon. You'll get some cool rewards for your services, including having the chance to have me answer your question on the show. So sign up at patreon.com/China Uncensored. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time. Well, sorry to say that's the end of another China Uncensored. But this isn't goodbye. Hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so you know when we have more episodes. And more episodes we will have. A new one comes out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday.